Hi, my name is Donna Swanson. I'm the founder and executive director of Focus Center for Autism, the Fresh Start School. And we've been in business for 21 years now, serving the autism community. We have the school, the Fresh Start School. We also have 2 residential programs. One of them is a supportive housing program for adults and young adults. And the other is a therapeutic group home for kids with autism and trauma. One's a DCF home and one is funded by the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. And we are very proud of all that we've done over the last 21 years, meeting the needs of children, their families, etc. And today you're going to be watching an episode of Life on the Spectrum. And we have something very special today. We have our alumni, Emily Looper, who I also call Emily Sweetheart Looper because she is a sweetheart. She's one of the originals, okay? She goes back to the beginning of time. And she is one of the reasons why I fell in love with the autism spectrum. Emily and her family taught me so much. And once I fell in love, I could never turn my heart back. And when Emily got referred to me back when I had a private practice, it was because she was oppositional defiant, and that she had an ADD, and neither of those are true. You've got
ADD.
You got through anxiety more than anything, but oppositional, oh no. But the oppositional stuff comes through the anxiety too, because you can't get anybody with anxiety to do anything they don't want to do. If they don't feel comfortable, they go into that fight or flight mode, and that's it.
Yeah. It's not like I was purposely doing it to be bad. I was just like, I don't feel comfortable doing something, and it's just, that's how it is. I don't want to be like, no, I'm not doing this because I want to be bad or
right.
anything.
Right, and so ADD, autism is 4 times more often in the fellows than it is in the girls, so it's harder to diagnose. And you were a very quiet young lady, so you didn't cause any trouble. So you often got overlooked in terms of by the schools and this and that in terms of what your actual needs are. But I fell in love with you, and I could see that you were not oppositional, and your mother was wonderful. And at that time, she was able to take me to several different trainings, and it was the trainings and you and your family that made me just fall in love, and that was it. It's autism forever for me, and so I blame you. I thank you. But Emily, what is really, really special is Emily is here from California.
Yeah.
And so we were able to have this very special visit. It took you she just got here yesterday, and it was the trip from, well, it wasn't the trip from heaven, let's just say that. And Emily got up and was able to come here and be here, and she's with Sharon, I might say, Sharon Cable, who... What's your job, honey?
I'm the coordinator of support services now at Focus. But I knew Emily way back when I was a volunteer. I was a
right.
mom, and you were my little sister.
Yeah.
I was going to say, these two are, Emily is Sharon's, they call each other sisters because they developed so many relationships. And Emily goes back to Nutmeg TV when we did...
Yeah.
That's right.
That was over 10 years ago.
That was over 10 years ago. We did 22 episodes on that. So now you're doing a debut on Life on the Spectrum. And we talk about and we're going to have another surprise guest at the last 10 minutes. And that's really going to be a surprise. Because we won't know. We never know what to expect anyway, right? So Emily, how old are you? Am I allowed to ask that?
Not really, but I guess I'm 37. I'll be 38 in a few days.
She's going to be 38 on Saturday, so happy birthday to you.
I don't feel that old at all.
No, you're young at heart, right?
Yeah.
So Emily, what what are some of the strengths that you have from, or what Shannon would call our autistic abilities?
I don't know. I'm pretty empathetic, and I feel like I can understand people coming from, and more patient, because even in California, there's people I know around and online and all of that stuff, and even without them telling me anything, I can tell if they're on the spectrum, and they'll usually tell me, and I'll be, and while other people don't understand and they're like, why are you like this, I feel like I'm more patient with them than, not that people are impatient, it's just hard to know how to deal with sometimes with.
So you're more understanding.
Yeah.
And that's what you mean by your empathy, and that you're understanding and you're accepting of differences.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that wasn't always true for you, right? People didn't necessarily understand you or totally accept you because they didn't get you.
Yeah.
And I know that one of the favorite stories about you is when you did not. Well, I'm going to save that one for our other special guest. But so also you've said in the past that some of your abilities are your creativity, your artistic.
Yes.
What else? What do you remember, Sharon, about her special abilities?
The art and being creative.
Mm-hmm.
And being the leader in the girls group.
Right.
They were asking about you.
Yeah, and she was the team leader for a while on the piano.
Yeah.
So, people really definitely looked up to you, for sure. And what are some of the challenges of being on the spectrum?
Well, it's just for me, I'm a bundle of anxiety always.
Yep.
I'm anxious right now.
And how would we know that? Because you look so calm and sweet. How do we know you're anxious?
I don't know. How would you know I'm anxious? I guess you'd have to know me, kind of.
So tell me, what's the anxiety like for you?
I don't know. It's just I feel nervous. Like it's hard to know what to say. I'm just the camera's on me, and it's been a long time. But even if I did this every day, I would still be anxious.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Thanks. Yes.
And you know what? You happen to be very pretty when you're anxious because you're smiling and.
I am smiling. I smile a lot when I'm anxious.
Yeah, so that's one.
Giggle.
And you giggle, right?
Yeah.
So but the anxiety is really a lot of it's social anxiety, right?
Yes.
So it keeps you necessarily from making friends, from going out, doing lots of stuff, right?
Yeah, I like to stay inside and curl up in a little ball, and I don't know, that's comfortable for me.
And I do remember that when you were in high school, you ate lunch alone often, and that was your choice, and you liked that. Do you remember why you liked that?
Yes, because that way I could actually eat lunch and not have to worry about socializing.
Right. And you said, I'm alone.
But I'm not lonely.
But I'm not lonely. And Sharon, as a mom, wouldn't you agree that that's an important thing to know, that just because we want so much for our kids to have friends and get out there and do stuff, but sometimes it's more painful for them than it is.
Alex had social club or social group during lunch, and it was either he could socialize or he could eat. So then we had to split it up, and you'd have lunch, he would sit by himself and eat, and then he could go and socialize. He couldn't do the two
And that's
the
how
lunch bunch thing.
That's
Yeah.
how Emily felt.
Yeah.
She couldn't manage just the eating, the talking. It was too much to navigate, right?
Mhm.
So that was okay for you.
Yeah.
What's some advice that you might have for parents on the spectrum, or for girls who are on the spectrum?
Well, definitely that you're not alone, and that there's others out there, and that and then we've got to stick together, kind of thing.
Yep.
And also, what I used to always say when I on the panels, to not just for anyone on the spectrum, and for people working with or families, you know, anyone else who's an ally or anything else of anyone on the spectrum, is to meet us halfway.
Right.
And that, because we, like, you want them to do something or us to do something, it'll, you know, you can't, you know, expect, you don't do everything for us, but you can't expect us to do everything either. If we meet somewhere in the middle, then that'll
That works better?
yeah, it works better for both.
For both sides, right?
Yes, yes.
And you also used to say, don't dumb us down.
Yeah, that too.
And what do you mean by that?
What do I mean? It's been a while. Well, it's because it's when you have trouble perceiving things, and certain things, like it takes a bit to understand, like in certain instructions.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't it doesn't really mean that we are too dumb to get it. It's just it takes a bit more a thinking process. Like I'm a more visual learner. If you like spout out you start lecturing me for like a half hour on something, how to do something, and then you tell me to do it, I'm gonna be like, it went in one ear and out the other. I don't know what you want me to do. So if I have written instruction, like and I love pictures. Give me a visual example or something. That's for me personally, probably for a lot of us, is the best way to learn things.
And I know you often have to, it takes you a while to answer. You have, the information comes in, it rolls around in your brain, and then you can answer. And sometimes teachers are people who are working with people on the spectrum. They think that you don't know the answer or whatever when you're actually just taking the time.
Yeah.
Like one of our guys was on the panel, and he was going to sing a song, and I said, okay, and I'm waiting. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and then I said, are you going to be able to do this? He goes, oh, I was just doing a search in my head about which song I wanted to play, which song I wanted to sing. So I thought he didn't know what he wanted to sing, but he was just trying to pick out which song he wanted to sing. So always, it's good to give people the benefit of the doubt and to give them the time to answer, right?
Yeah.
Sharon, what you haven't seen Emily in quite a while now. What are you noticing?
Well, she doesn't look a day older. Your hair looks so pretty.
Thank you.
So pretty. It's always pretty.
Talk louder.
And that was reminding me. That's because I was complimenting Emily. But that was reminding me that Alex would say that too. Like somebody would ask a question, and he'd be thinking of the answer, and they'd repeat it or ask it in another way. And to him, that was a whole brand new question. And then it's like, okay, now I'm thinking of the answer to that. What about the first question? So they try to reword it, thinking they needed to explain it a different way, when he just needed more time to get the answer. And he said when they ask again in a different way, it makes it more confusing, because then it's like you've asked me two different things.
Right.
So I remember that's what he used to say.
So your advice to the people out there is to stick with you, to give you time and space.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like you had, I know in school you had some sensory issues too, like the smell of paper and newspaper, right?
Yeah, newspaper. I still don't like it.
and so that could make it hard sometimes for some of the assignments that you might have to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your other sensory issues?
Well, which is hard for everyday life. I hate cooking, so I don't. That's a pain, because I don't like the smells of a lot of the different foods, like onions. I don't know, even just various foods, and the feel of the food. I don't like doing the dishes. I don't think anyone really likes doing the dishes, but.
But so how do you eat? What do you eat?
I get a lot of ready-made foods and stuff like that. And I know it's not. I wish there was easier ways for things, but you have to kind of be accommodating for yourself.
But you found a way to feed yourself as like you met the need. You get nourishment.
Yeah.
You're not cooking, but you're still getting nourishment.
Yes.
And when you were younger, food didn't really appeal to you too much, right?
Mm-mm.
So this is a step forward that you eat a lot of more different things now than you used to.
Yes.
Because we used to have a harder time getting you to eat.
Yeah, I'm still a picky eater though. I feel like sometimes it gets better. Like it's better. Mine is better than it used to be, but I don't feel like it. As for some, it might go away, but for me, it has not.
Right.
Not fully.
Yeah.
I'm a little more flexible than I used to be.
And so, how about transitions? Those were hard for you too.
They're still hard for me. Just a lot of these things just don't go away. It's just they stay with you. They may get better over time as one gets older, and a lot of it has for me. But for me personally, it could be different for each child, but for me personally, a lot of it's never fully gone away.
And you would agree with it. Autism doesn't.
No, autism.
Everybody I know would agree with you. Everybody on the spectrum I know would say, yeah, I'm better. I'm able to do more things than I used to be able to do. I can tolerate more, but it's still not. It's still different than typical people. You still need more space. It's still harder to do transitions. And even people who had sensory issues, they're better, but they're still, even Alex still has things.
Mhm.
And you learn to deal with it, and you learn to cope with it better, I think, and take space when you need it and stuff like that, so people won't notice it as much, or you can control it better because you can eat what you want in your own apartment. You don't have to eat Ma's cooking.
She likes Mom's cooking.
Oh, that's good then. Alex doesn't like the smell of Mom's cooking, but he's better than he used to be. He used to hide under the bed.
But now
he's in the next room.
Now
Yeah.
Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah, I have to. If someone's in cooking in the house, I have to open the windows.
So you find ways to adjust
Mhm.
to help with that. Now, one of the things that brings you tremendous joy in your life also has red hair and 4 legs.
Yeah.
Who is that?
My cat.
What's your cat's name?
His name is Rudy.
And what about Rudy? Rudy is he's unusual for a cat, wouldn't you say?
I feel like he's on the spectrum.
I'm not going to disagree with you, but he is kind of on the spectrum because he does all these wild and crazy things,
Yeah.
doesn't he?
Yes.
Not that being on the spectrum is wild and crazy, but
Well, it could be, but and I don't think the spectrum can be very fun.
yeah. Why not?
Hmm?
Why can't the
It
spectrum?
can be.
I
Oh,
think
it can be fun because
Yeah.
Rudy certainly has fun on
Yeah,
it.
yeah, definitely.
And you, how do you have fun?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Well, I like what I like, and I try not to let social norms get in my way. I'm not that I am mature and proper when I need to be, but if I want to go home and play video games, then I'm going to go home and play video games. That does not have an age limit or anything, I don't feel.
So, I think some people might call you stubborn. I call you determined because it's been one of your strengths. Is nobody can get you to do something you don't want to do, and I respect that. But you do have wiggle room. You will try some new things if the comfort zone feels right, right?
Right.
And I'm just so proud of you and so happy that you were so willing to come here today and do this.
Yeah, I had a headache this morning, but I took something for it and laid down for a while, and I felt better. And
Well, you had such a long trip yesterday, and sort of nothing went right on that trip.
no.
Sharon, what would you like to say to Emily before we bring in the surprise guest?
So good to see you. You haven't changed too much.
What do you see as a plus here?
A mature young lady. I mean, you came from California, haven't seen us in ages. You know, you're tired, you had a long trip, and you were able to, oh, you want to do a TV show? I mean, yeah, you know, you don't want to stress you out or anything. That's a huge transition. And you came and you did it.
And she's missed us.
My little sister is grown up. We're all grown up.
All right, well, I'm going to bring someone else out here for a minute, and then we'll call you back in possibly. Here's a very special surprise, is Emily getting to see Alex. Are you happy to see Emily?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed her. It's been a while.
Yeah. How long do you think it's been since you've seen Emily?
I don't know, could be years.
Years. What do you remember about you and Emily?
I remember we talked to each other about how we had similar school experiences.
Yep. Do you remember what's the one thing that you remember about Emily in field trips?
She hated them because they didn't go well for her.
Right. And you used to have a prayer for Emily. You used to pray that what?
She wouldn't have to go on bad field trips in heaven.
In heaven, right? And you also didn't. You were hoping for. You said you would go on field trips in heaven, but you didn't want to go where? Do you remember? You were hoping you wouldn't have to go to museums in heaven, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, because I thought that was boring.
You thought that was boring. So, Emily, what do you think about Alex? Alex, how old are you now?
I'm 28.
Can you believe that?
It's hard to believe.
So what would you like to say to Alex?
You've come a long way, and I'm proud of you. You just graduated Tongusis. Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's been a while, and I miss you. I miss everyone. And
And Alex, it's been so, we used to have so much fun traveling and doing the panels, right? And
Yeah.
now that there's COVID, we aren't able to do that. So, but at least we get to do the Nutmeg show and Life on the Spectrum, right?
You can go back to panels eventually.
Yeah, yeah, and we do some virtually, but we used to love to get in the car together, and we'd go out and eat and joke, and I would always have to do one U-turn, right? Because I was always getting lost.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but Emily, you miss all your friends here, right?
Mhm.
And Alex, you were so happy to see Emily, right?
Right.
Do you notice anything about Emily and how does she seem any different to you, or?
Not much. I remember when she was a baby, she said she had cataracts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Alex, what a memory.
Yeah.
Emily was born with cataracts,
I
right?
Yeah.
And you started having surgery at how old?
I think it was 3 weeks. I forget exactly when, but they discovered it at my 2-week checkup.
And you were, they put contact lenses in you as a baby.
Mhm.
And that was quite a big ordeal,
Yeah,
right?
they had to bring me to the doctor every time they wanted to take them out or replace them because you couldn't change contacts on a baby. My parents couldn't do that.
Right. So, Alex, what a memory you have. Do you have one more memory before we... What's another memory?
Well, she lives in Southern California.
She does, and we miss her a lot, huh? We liked it better when she lived over here, lived closer, huh?
Yeah.
Eventually, my dad and I are gonna go to SC when the COVID thing wears off.
You're gonna go to Southern California?
Yeah, because I want to visit the Los Angeles Zoo.
I'm sure you do, and maybe you'll get maybe you'll get in touch with Emily back then when you go out there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm very proud of you both, and what is something that we usually do at the end of when we've been together? We do appreciations, right?
Yeah.
So, Alex, what do you appreciate about being a surprise guest here today?
Getting to reunite with an old friend.
Oh, I love that. Emily, what about you?
I appreciate doing this together and setting this up for me, and that was sweet of all of you.
And I appreciate that you were able to come and that you have such a good attitude and you know, after a trip like yesterday's, can still be here and smiling. I was going to call Miss Sharon to come back over here for a real quick second and say, here she comes. Sneak in here.
Sneak in here with my buddies.
What's your appreciation?
My appreciation is getting to see Emily and Alex together again like they used to be on the panel, although now he's bigger than you. Before, Alex was just a little guy and Emily was a mentor to him. You remember that, Alex?
Yep.
She would show you the ropes and what we did on the panels and stuff. So now they're both grown up.
Emily, and I'm going to ask you, Alex, too, and Sharon, what's one thing you want people to know out there about being on the spectrum and how to help?
Doesn't matter if you don't always succeed in helping as long as you try.
So if you don't succeed in helping, what matters is that you tried.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sharon?
I think I'm going to go with the trickiest part is the unpredictability, I think. One day he has it, the next day he doesn't. 1 hour he has it, the next hour he doesn't. That sometimes can be frustrating and overwhelming.
For everybody.
Yeah, for teachers, parents, you think they got it and then the next minute it's not there, but you just have to keep at it, right, Alex?
Right.
Emily?
I would say not to put yourself down too much. I know it can be hard, and that you sometimes I know I definitely feel frustrated that I can't. There's things I can't do when my peers can and everything, but we are who we are, and we still have plenty of
Value.
value. Yes.
That's right. And I really appreciate that you guys are all here. And the one thing I want is for people to open your minds, open your hearts, and accept people for who they are and don't judge. That, you know, we're all different. Our definition of autism is creatively wired and socially challenged. Don't assume, you know, assume goodwill and treat people right. And what are we supposed to say at the end here? This is what Fred wants us to say. See you next time.